Okay, hello, can you guys hear me? Yes, okay. So, you're able to see my screen? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, yeah, we have about a minute before. Okay. All right, so any questions from the previous class? So you might have noticed that the midterm exam is going to be delayed by a week, right? So that email came to us maybe a couple of days back. So which means that we can continue with the lectures, and so naturally whatever I said stands corrected. So whatever we cover until next week will be the syllabus for the midterm exam. Okay. Any questions? Oh, which means why don't we do the project next Thursday? Since you won't have the exams, you might as well just finish off the project. Otherwise, it gets too delayed, and then by that time you've already forgotten uh, the concepts and so on. So let's have the project on next Thursday. Same as before, only 2 or 3 slides. Very quickly you get through it, and let's see. The problem is we might
Sir,
not be able to.
postpone.
What is that?
Reason for postpone.
Of the exam?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I have no idea. Whatever you saw in the email, that's the only information I have. So looks like there was some, see, we are hiring this agency to conduct the exam for us. I think we are hiring an agency. And then, it might you have to get the, permissions and all of that stuff done. So although it was known beforehand, maybe some delay has happened. I don't know why. So that is the fact of the matter. I know it's a little bit of an inconvenience for everybody, but yeah, what do we do? Right? We just abide by whatever instructions we are given. Okay, so let's get started. 1 second. So we started looking at a problem last week, but I got the feeling that it might be a little bit better to explain the procedure and then get into the problem rather than do the problem and understand the procedure through the problem. Uh, I thought about it, and maybe it's not the best approach. So let us first try to understand what the objective is, right? So until the previous chapter where we were looking at infiltration, the objective was to estimate the infiltration given the kind of soil, given the kind of rainfall, given the kind of what else, initial moisture and so on, right? Now the question is, given the same information, I'm not interested in the infiltration so much. My end product that I'm interested in is the excess rainfall or the runoff generated, right? So when I'm interested in the excess rainfall, I first try to look at the total precipitation received, okay, subtract out the portion that has become infiltration, and then whatever is left, if there is anything left, is the excess rainfall, right? So if you remember, we discussed this concept called time of ponding, right? So what does time of ponding mean? Time of ponding is simply the time at which the rainfall intensity becomes greater than the infiltration capacity of the soil, right? As long as the infiltration capacity of the soil is greater than the rainfall intensity, the soil just keeps infiltrating more and more water. But as soon as the infiltration capacity falls below the rainfall intensity, then you get the situation called ponding, right? So at that point in time, ponding starts. Okay. And then once ponding starts, your infiltration can, okay, maybe I'll go one step back. As long as you have not hit ponding time, right, infiltration will happen at the rainfall intensity, right? Because the rainfall intensity is lower than the infiltration capacity. So whatever rainfall is falling, it will be infiltrating. But once the infiltration rate falls below the rainfall intensity, then the rainfall intensity does not determine how much infiltration happens. The infiltration capacity determines how much infiltration happens, right? It's fairly obvious. Okay. So whatever infiltration happens after time of ponding depends on the infiltration capacity of the soil, right? So that is the objective of this whole exercise. Okay. So there is this very elaborate, are you able to see the, so this is this very elaborate flow chart which describes how we go through this. Okay. I will leave it to you to go through the entire flow chart, but let me just on the other side, on this side of the slide, I'm going to present to you. Okay, let's have time on the time on the x-axis, let's say in hours, and on the y-axis I have a rate, could be an infiltration rate or rainfall intensity. Both of them have same units, right? Centimeters per hour, millimeters per hour, whatever it is. Okay, so let us say I'm given the rainfall intensity as a function of time. Okay, first time step there was some rainfall intensity, next time step there was some other rainfall intensity, then there was some other rainfall intensity, then something else, and then something else, and so on, right? So this is the, what is this kind of a curve called?
Hyetograph.
Yeah, this is the rainfall hyetograph, right? We can either call it hyetograph or call it a rainfall hyetograph. It means the same thing. Okay. Now this is given to you and you know the characteristics of the watershed. When I say characteristics, I mean what kind of soil is present. Okay. We know the characteristics of the watershed. And then we know that the infiltration capacity of the soil changes as a function of time, right? Because rainfall happens on that watershed, this infiltration capacity will also change. Okay. So let me just draw one random, let us say the infiltration capacity. I'm going to try to draw it very carefully. Okay. So let us say that this is one scenario. Okay. Where the infiltration capacity and the, see, I've deliberately drawn it like this. It can either, see the way the dotted line has been drawn, it is right at the intersection of this delta T, right? So I have, let's say it's T1, T2, and T3, right? So exactly at T2, the infiltration capacity is falling below the rainfall intensity, right? This is one possibility. Let's say this is possibility number 1. This is how this dotted line can intersect this curve. Okay, that's one possibility. The other possibility is this curve may do something like this. Okay, please focus only on this area. The rest of it, I'm just drawing it just like that. Just focus on that area. So now here, what do you notice? Look at this point at which it intersects the rainfall hyetograph. Do you know? Do you think there's a difference between these two curves? And what do you think is the difference? Yes. What is the implication on the time of ponding?
It's between T1 and T2.
Yeah. In the first curve that I drew, the time of ponding is exactly T2, right? In the second curve that I've drawn, the time of ponding is somewhere between T1 and T2. Okay. So you'll have to, which means during a pour, so if this duration is delta T, during somewhere in this duration delta T, For some portion of the delta T, ponding is not happening. And for some portion of the delta T, ponding is happening. Okay, so that's a little bit complicated. You understand that, right? So that is what this entire flow chart that you see on the left hand side, the flow chart is trying to explain this entire process. Okay, so let's just go through from the step one. At time t equal to 0, capital F, which is the cumulative infiltration, equal to 0. This everybody understands. Okay, now we are going to keep going in, we are going to go into this flow chart at any random time t. Okay, at time t, cumulative infiltration F subscript T is known. Are you able to see the letter? It's a little bit small, but don't worry. I've shared this flow chart on Google Classroom. You can download it, and it's a PDF file. You can zoom in. It should be fairly clearly visible. Okay. So at any given time t, cumulative infiltration F suffix subscript T is known. Okay. You agree with that? At any given time t, Ft will be known, right? Because we have that formula for estimating what Ft is, right? If T is less than time of ponding, then it's very easy. It is simply I into T, right? The total cumulative infiltration will be simply the rainfall intensity times T. That will give you the cumulative infiltration if we are at a time T which is less than time of ponding. If we are at a time T that is greater than time of ponding, then we have to understand what it is. Okay. So let us say at this step, at time T, Ft is known. Okay. No issues. If capital Ft is known, we can find out small ft, right? Remember what? This is K times psi delta theta by F plus 1. You remember this formula. This is the Green-Amp equation. You can use the Horton's equation or the Phillips equation, whatever it is. You can also use that. So this equation is known. If capital F is known, you can find out small f. Okay. So then comes the decision making part. Then you come to this rhombus, this diamond shaped box. This diamond shaped box typically in a flow chart is a decision making box. You ask a question. If it is yes, you do something. If it's no, you do something else, right? You might be familiar with this flow chart, the shapes of these boxes. Okay. So at this decision making box here, I'm asking the question, is f of t that I have computed from capital F of t, is this rate of infiltration, is this less than or equal to rainfall intensity IT? Okay. In case it's not visible, let me write this question. Is f of t less than or equal to I of t? I of t is known beforehand. So this hyetograph is given to you, right? At every time t, I know what the rainfall intensity is, right? But I don't know what the infiltration rate is. So I compute it, and then I ask the question, is f of t less than or equal to I of t? Okay. So let us look at this. Maybe let us look at time t equal to t1. At time t equal to t1, if I find out f of t and it is over here, this is f of t, right? At time t equal to t1, in this curve, no matter whether it is curve 1 or curve 2, you will compute f of t over here. The question is f of t less than or equal to IT? Is it less than or equal to? In this case, it's greater than IT, right? IT is over here. Rainfall intensity for this time step is over here, whereas my infiltration rate is greater than that. So since it's greater, it comes to this side of the, FT. So, okay, maybe even this is not clear. So the answer to this is no. F of t is greater than I of t, right? At t equal to t1, that is true. Okay. Then it asks the question, no. So then it says, no ponding at the beginning of the interval. So between this interval t1 to t2, at time t equal to t1, no ponding is happening. Okay. Then it says, what about the end of the interval? Right? At the beginning of the interval between t1 and t2, no ponding is happening. Then it says no ponding at the beginning of the interval. That's the first statement here. You can, if you can't read it, I'll just read it out. No ponding at the beginning of the interval. Calculate tentative values f prime t plus delta t. Okay, there's a prime over here which might not be visible to you. You know that there is no ponding happening at this interval, at the beginning of the interval. So you calculate what will be the cumulative infiltration rate at the end of that interval. So it's capital F t plus delta t equal to capital F at t plus, what is it, it times delta t. This is very clear. This is a simple equation. I know f of t, capital F of t, right? And I know rainfall intensity during this duration. So if I simply do this, I get f prime t plus delta t. If I know f prime, this is a tentative value, then I can find out small f prime, right? Using the same equation, k psi delta theta by f prime plus 1, right? So now I have computed the f prime at the end of the delta of that time step t1 t plus delta t. Okay, so now I have f at the beginning of the interval and small f at the end of the time interval. Okay, so now here you see these two cases. There are these two possibilities. Possibility 1 is that it is exactly equal to it. Possibility 2 that I've drawn here is that it is less than it. Possibility 3, there's also a third possibility that it can be greater than it, right? There may also be a third possibility where the curve goes above like this.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, but f dash of t plus delta t will only be equal to ft plus I delta t if we are assuming that there is no ponding occurring.
You are absolutely right. That is why it's a tentative value. That's why I'm saying it's f prime t plus delta t. It is not f of t plus delta t. It is an initial guess. Okay, let's go through. Wait, I know why you're asking this question. So let us say that it is either. So you see, I have drawn these three curves now: curve 1, curve 2, curve 3. Curve 1 and 2. See, at the end of t plus delta t, I'm asking this question again: is f prime of t plus delta t, is it less than or equal to it? Okay. What is the answer to this question? The answer is, if it is 1 or 2, the answer is it is less than or equal to. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Because in either in curve 1 or curve 2, in curve 1 it is exactly equal, in curve 2 it's less than. So either way, the answer to that question will be yes. Let's assume that it is case 3. Case 3 where it is clearly greater than it. If it is greater than it, what happens? It goes to this side. It goes to this side, and the conclusion is no ponding throughout the interval. Right? It says since f of t plus delta t, or f prime of t, small f prime of t plus delta t is greater than it, throughout this interval no ponding has happened. So then it says, let us make this tentative value that was computed, f prime, we'll make that the pakka number. F prime is made equal to f of t plus delta t. Right? Is that okay? So now we have computed the cumulative infiltration at the end of this time step delta t, assuming it is curve 3. Okay, and then it goes back to the curve and then repeats the same process. Right? It goes, if it comes through this way, it comes here, it goes here. The answer is yes, sorry, no. Then it comes over here, it goes here, and then it goes back and then continues to the next time step, and so on. Okay, I've explained one time step. The next time step, the same procedure will be repeated. Okay, so let us go into the other loop. If you get the answer that f prime of t plus delta t is less than or equal to it, then it comes to this. So then it says ponding occurs during the interval. Right? So it says sometime during this interval ponding must have happened. Right? So it tries to find out at what time did ponding happen. What does it do? It says fp right? FP is the cumulative infiltration at the time of ponding. How can you find that out? You are interested in the time at which ponding happened, right? So this delta T that you've got here is too high, right? Ponding did not happen at T1. It did not happen at T2. It happened sometime between T1 and T2. But you only have delta T. You have to find out a new delta T at which this ponding happened. Okay. So the this new delta T, so this delta T prime equal to FP minus FT divided by IT. You agree with this? Do you agree with this? Yes. Right? So at time T, yeah, yes.
How are we assuming that this is delta T dash? Are we just taking a delta T dash as arbitrary value, or we're taking it as something?
No, we are
There's no
computing it. We are
there.
computing it. We are
Oh, we're
computing it.
just computing it. Okay.
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 So we know f of t. See, we know ft. We know it. How do we find fp? How do we know fp? You go back to your time of ponding equation. What was that? Right? If you go back to the previous, I mean, even I don't remember the equation by heart. Okay, so it's a complex equation. So you can find out fp from that time of ponding, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So then you get your fp, you put it into this equation, you compute the delta t prime, which is the time at which ponding happened between T1 and T2, right? So you come here, you compute that. Once you compute that, then that becomes your, okay, so your delta T prime has been computed. So now instead of doing it at delta T, you've computed a new delta T, and that becomes your updated value. You go back and then you continue the process, right? So all you have done is you have found out the time between T1 and T2 at which this time of ponding happened. Okay. So we have gone through this entire loop, right? So we came into this question. You're able to see we came into this question first, and then we went into to trying to find out if it is ponding happened before the interval or not, before the end of the interval or not, and then we've come back to the next time step. Okay. Now, what if the answer here was less than that? Okay. If f of t is less than or equal to it, so we didn't go into this route. If that happens, right? So for instance, let us say you are in this time step. Let us say you are between T2 and T3. Here, the answer is f of t is less than or equal to it. So then ponding occurs throughout the interval. Then it's an easy case, right? If you remember what this question is f of t less than or equal to it? If it is true, that means throughout the time step from t to t plus delta t, ponding will happen. Why is that? Because even at the beginning of the interval, the infiltration rate was already below rainfall intensity, right? And rainfall intensity can only decrease with time. It can never increase with time. That is the critical thing to remember. And throughout the interval, my rainfall intensity is going to be constant. From time t equal to from time t to t plus delta t, my rainfall intensity is constant. Only my infiltration rate is changing. If infiltration rate, and it can only decline, it can never increase. Okay, at most it will remain constant. If it was already less than rainfall intensity at the beginning of the time step, at the end of the time step also it is going to be less than or equal to the rainfall intensity. Therefore, I say ponding occurs throughout the interval. If I know that ponding occurs throughout the interval, then it's very easy, right? I can simply compute my f t plus delta t, f of t plus delta t. Straightforward, right? We already have the infiltration equations. You can solve for it and you'll obtain, remember, it might be an iterative process and so on, right? If you go back to the Green-AMP when we were solving those problems, it's an iterative approach. You guess the value of capital F, you put it into the equation and iteratively solve it until 2 consecutive iterations give you the same number. Okay, so that approach. We are not going to discuss that again. We know how to do it. This flowchart is only telling you what to do. Okay, then you go back to the next time step, right? So if I've solved it for one time step, then the same procedure I keep repeating time step after time step, and we just keep going on and on. So that's the procedure. So I would not say it is difficult to understand. It is difficult to implement. If you are doing it by hand, it's difficult to implement. There's no complexity in terms of the process itself. The process itself is straightforward, but because you have to keep looking at every time step at, the intensity before, at the beginning of the time step, the intensity, sorry, not the intensity, the infiltration capacity. Infiltration capacity at the beginning of the time step, at the end of the time step, and you have to compare it to the rainfall intensity. And depending on where these two numbers fall at the beginning and the end of the time step, you may either have ponding throughout the interval, or you may have ponding somewhere in between the interval, or you may have no ponding throughout the interval. So 3 possibilities arise, and accordingly you solve that time step and go to the next time step, and you keep repeating this process for the entire duration of the storm. Right? Any questions? Okay, so now we will just go back to that problem that we started working on last time. So I've already mentioned to you the so in this particular problem, the incremental rainfall in every 10-minute interval is given to you, and the kind of soil is known, sandy loam soil. The effective saturation 40%, all that is given. So using the available table for hydraulic conductivity and suction head and so on, you are able to very easily get all these factors. K is known, psi is known for this kind of soil, theta E, which is the effective porosity, is known. And since you know the effective saturation, you are able to find out what delta theta is. You get that number, and then you get psi delta theta, which is all required for your Green-AMP equation, right? So then we came to this. So what was given to you was the incremental rainfall. You converted to rainfall intensity in every 10-minute duration. Okay. So once you have the rainfall intensities, what do? For every delta T, you compute the infiltration rate at the beginning of the time step and at the end of the time step, and compare it to the rainfall intensity, right? So let us look at the first. At time T equal to 0, cumulative infiltration is 0, and potential infiltration rate is, it's undefined, it's infinite. Okay, so we just, it's some large number. Okay, it can't be infinity, it's some large number. Okay, then we compute the, remember these are all the temporary values, f prime and small f prime. You compute the temporary values. Since ponding has not started at time t equal to 0, you assume, you compute the f prime at t plus delta t, which is at 10 minutes. It comes out to be 0.18 centimeters. Once you obtain this capital F prime, you put that into this equation, you compute the small f prime. What is small f prime? It comes to 17.57 centimeters per hour. Okay. At the beginning of the time step, small f was infinity or some very large number. At the end of the time step, small f is 17.57 centimeters per hour. What do? You compare these two numbers, this some very large number and 17.57. You compare it to 1.08. What is your conclusion? Has ponding occurred during the interval?
No.
No, because the infiltration rate of the soil is much, much greater than the rainfall intensity during that time interval. So ponding has not happened. So therefore, this capital F prime and small f prime that you computed, those are the final numbers, right? They are not tentative numbers. So you finalize them and you put them into the table, 0.18, 17.57. Now you look at the, now this is the new time step. Time step from t equal to 10 minutes to t equal to 20 minutes. The infiltration rate at the beginning of the time interval is 17.57 centimeters per hour. Okay, and the rainfall intensity in the next time step is 1.26 centimeters per hour. Okay, so then again you compute the tentative value f prime at t plus delta t. You put it into this equation, you'll get the 0.39. So 0.39 centimeters of infiltration has happened. You take that 0.39 and put it into this equation. You will get a tentative value for the infiltration rate at the end of the time step, and that comes out to be, let me just it comes out to be 8.70 centimeters per hour. Now again you go back and check the infiltration rate at the beginning of the interval and the end of the interval with the rainfall intensity. 17.57, 8.7. Both these numbers are greater than 1.26 centimeters per hour. Therefore, no ponding happened during this entire time interval, which means these numbers that you computed are the final numbers. You can just put them in, no issues. You keep going. Okay, I will not put in all the numbers because it's a long problem. So I'll go to time t equal to 60 minutes. At time t equal to 60 minutes, this number comes out to be 2.77, and time at t equal to 50 minutes, it is 3.30. Okay, at that time the infiltration is 1.34 centimeters, and okay, yeah. So now look at this, and here it is 1.77 cumulative infiltration of 1.77 centimeters. Now look at this time step from t equal to 50 minutes to t equal to 60 minutes. What is the rainfall intensity between 50 and 60 minutes? 2.58 centimeters per hour. What is the infiltration rate at the beginning of the time step? 3.3 centimeters per hour. At the end of the time step, it is 2.77 centimeters per hour. Both these numbers are greater than the rainfall intensity during this time step. Therefore, no infiltration, no ponding happens during this time interval. So you get 1.77 centimeters of cumulative infiltration, and 2.77 is the, so these are the final numbers for this time step. Now you look at the rainfall intensity at the beginning of t equal to 60 minutes. What is the rainfall intensity?
3.84.
3.84. So this 3.84 is going to last from t equal to 60 minutes to t equal to 70 minutes. Okay. Now already I know that my infiltration rate at t equal to 60 minutes is 2.77 centimeters per hour, which is less than my rainfall intensity during that time interval. Right? Now at the end of this time interval, naturally my infiltration rate will only be, it can at the most it can be equal to 2.77. Most likely it will be less than 2.77. Whatever the case is, it will be less than 3.84 centimeters per hour. Therefore, at the beginning of this time interval, time of ponding has happened. So what is the time of ponding?
60 minutes.
Time of ponding is exactly 60 minutes. Okay. So ponding has begun at this time. So this is TP. Okay. Once I know that, can I not find out what cumulative infiltration will be during this time step? What will it be? What will it be? You put it into your, see, you can't use this equation. This equation is only if time of ponding has not been reached. Once you once you reach time of ponding, you have to use the other equation, right? F of t plus delta. Let me write out the entire equation. It's this long one. F of t plus delta t. I don't have space. Minus f of t minus log of psi delta theta plus f of t plus delta t. Okay, did I? Okay, it's not looking clear. Okay, plus f of t plus delta t divided by psi delta theta plus f of t equal to k times delta t. Agree with this? F of t plus delta t minus f of t minus natural log of, oh, one more thing, I forgot. So this natural log must be multiplied by psi delta theta. Sorry, I forgot that. Okay. So f of t plus delta t minus this. So this is your Green-Amp equation. Once time of ponding has been reached, so this is how you estimate the cumulative infiltration at the end of the time step, or during the time interval. Okay. So now what is the procedure for solving this? What are the knowns here? F of t is known, psi delta theta is known, k is known, delta t is known. The only unknown is f of t plus delta t, right? So you can rearrange this. Everything is known. You can rearrange it such that you get f of t plus delta t on both sides of the equation, right? You get it on both sides of the equation. Then you make an initial guess, put it in and solve it iteratively, and you'll get a final answer for f of t plus delta t. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
It's the same process. It's an iterative process. You put it in, okay, and then you get the answer. Let me put down the number over here. So you get the answer as 2.21 centimeters of cumulative infiltration, and then the f gets computed as 2.43. Okay. Now then again you look at okay, so now we have come to t equal to 70 minutes. You look at the infiltration rate at the beginning of the time interval, 2.43. So at the end of the time interval, it can only be less than 2.43, or it can be equal to 2.43. It cannot be greater than. And the rainfall intensity at the beginning of the time step is 6.84. So therefore, during this entire time interval, again, ponding will, we are at ponding situation. So this entire time interval, okay. So again, you do the same thing and you compute the capital F at t plus delta t, the new delta t. You keep doing that, you get the number 2.59 and so on. Okay, you keep going until you just keep following the same procedure, and you get to let us say what time time t equal to 140. Let me write down the numbers here. At time t equal to 140, I get 4.53 centimeters, and the infiltration rate at that time is 1.74. Okay, I'll just write down the previous one just for your information. 1.79. These are all the numbers that are coming out of the solution. I'll upload this solution. Okay, don't worry. So if you look at all of them, now it becomes clear. Now you see the intensity of rainfall at the beginning of t equal to 140 minutes is 1.68 centimeters per hour. So at this time, your rainfall has gone down. It has gone down to such an extent that it is now below the infiltration rate, right? So what happens? What do you do at this point in time, or how do you proceed with this? I know it's a little bit challenging. So until before t equal to TP, at every time step, what were you getting? You were getting the infiltration rates to be greater than the rainfall intensity. Okay. Then after time t equal to 60 minutes, up to time t equal to 140 minutes, you are getting infiltration rates lower than the rainfall intensity. Now you are at a point where you're not clear how exactly it's going to behave. Okay, it's again, the rainfall intensity is again fallen below the infiltration rate. But in this case, we don't know whether it will last to the entire time step or it may change during the entire time step. So what do? You again go back to the same procedure that you adopted previously when the infiltration rate was greater than rainfall intensity. You compute the f prime t plus delta t and so on, right? So let us compute f prime t plus delta t. When you do that, you get 4.81. So this is the tentative value. Then with this tentative value, you compute the tentative f prime at the end of small f prime at the end of the time step, and you get 1.71. Okay. So you see, at both the end of the time step and at the beginning of the time step, the infiltration rate is greater than the rainfall intensity. Therefore, whatever number you got is fine, right? These are not tentative numbers. These are the final numbers. Okay. So then you go to the next time step and so on. Okay. I'll just continue solving for the remaining 3 time steps. I'll just put in the numbers 1.68, 1.66, 1.64, and the corresponding numbers here will be 5.05, 5.24, and 5.41. Okay. So these cumulative, the cumulative infiltration numbers are all, they keep increasing. These infiltration rate numbers continuously keep declining, but depending on what the rainfall intensity is during that time step, you may have ponding happening or no ponding happening, and so on. Or of course, in this particular problem, ponding happening at the middle of the interval, you're not getting to see that, because those problems will be really a little bit cumbersome to solve. Yes.
Sir, like from 60 minutes to 140 minutes, we saw that there'll be ponding happening. And after that, we went back to the previous approach that f dash t plus delta t is equals to ft plus I delta t. Right? Sir, but if we get back to that approach, it says that if f dash of t is less than I, then there'll be no ponding happening in that time interval.
Yes.
But sir, from 60 to 140 minutes, there was some ponding, and sir, then we'll have to consider that the ponding that occurred totally infiltrated into the soil. If we are going back to that
excellent
approach.
question. Excellent question. Completely agree with you. Right? What you're assuming in this case is that ponding happens and it gets converted to runoff. It doesn't keep standing there all the time. Right? So it's a very, very fair question. And it's completely, I mean, I entirely agree with you. All I'm trying to say is this, that we assume that you don't have kind of a stagnation happening at that place. Okay. Ponding happening means instantaneously, since the rainfall intensity is greater than the infiltration capacity of the soil, instantaneously you see some buildup of water at the land surface. Okay. And that instantaneously creates a kind of a ponding situation. And we assume that wherever this location is, it's not in a low lying area. It has some kind of a slope which keeps taking the water away in the form of runoff. Okay, it may happen, it may not happen. That's a different question, right? So that's the challenge with this approach, right? So we have no way of knowing whether we are at a given location in a watershed, whether that location happens to be a low-lying area where water is just coming from all sides and just collecting there, in which case the ponding will continuously happen, right? So the challenge or the limitation of this approach is that it assumes that whatever water gets ponded gets drained off by runoff instantaneously. Okay, so at every time instant, we keep evaluating the new ponding that happens because of the rainfall that's happening. And if the rainfall intensity is not high enough to create ponding, then instantaneously it gets converted to infiltration. It's a simplified model. Okay, it has its own limitations, but at the same time, it's at least giving you an answer. You're getting, you're getting some idea of what is happening. Okay, but your question is appreciated and it's perfectly valid. Any other questions? Okay, so now this is the interesting thing. We have the intent of the problem was to estimate what the excess rainfall is. Okay, we have still not obtained that. All this while we have only been computing how much infiltration has happened. Okay, but if I know the total rainfall and I know the total infiltration, is it not relatively easy to find out what the excess rainfall is? So let me just go to the next slide. Okay, so the next slide, assume that all these numbers are populated. Okay, I'll just populate a few more numbers so that 1.77 at 60. 60 minutes. So it was 1.77, and then at 140 it becomes 4.53, and at the end it becomes 5.24 and 5.41. Okay, so if I have this entire column, can I not estimate what the excess rainfall would be? It's very easy, right? Excess rainfall, again, you can do it as an incremental one and also as cumulative. Up to time t equal to 60 minutes, will there be any excess rainfall? Or in other words, any runoff?
No, sir.
No.
Right, there'll be no runoff. So at time t equal to 60 minutes, cumulative excess rainfall is 0. From the next time step onwards, you start getting excess rainfall. And how much will it be? Okay, so let me write down the other next number also. It's 2.21. Okay, so cumulative rainfall at the end of 70 minutes is 2.41 centimeters. Cumulative infiltration at the end of 70 minutes is 2.21. So therefore, excess rainfall must be 0.2 centimeters, right? So that difference must have become excess rainfall or runoff, right? You can compute the incremental one also. No big deal. Okay, and then similarly, you just keep going down. 2.21. Next one is 2.59. Okay, what will the number over here be? It will be 3.55 minus 2.59. Correct? 0.96 and so on. Okay, so let us come to t equal to 140 minutes. I'll not populate the numbers over here. I don't want to spend time on that. Okay, so what will it be? What will the number here be? Can anybody say it? It's right in front of you. Okay, I'll have to call out somebody then. Shvetushri, can you tell us what the number here will be? All the information is available here. You just have to tell me it is something minus something. What is that? Can you hear me? Yeah, I think she sent a chat. Okay, she's given me the final answer. Yeah, but I mean, okay, so she says it's 5.96. Okay, good. So 5.96 is essentially 10.49 minus 4.53, right? So after time t equal to 140 minutes, do you expect there to be any runoff? After time t equal to 140 minutes, will there be runoff? What has happened after time t equal to 140
No.
minutes? The rainfall intensity has fallen below the infiltration capacity of the soil. Once that happens, runoff ceases to exist, right? So you have 5.96 centimeters of runoff generated by this entire rainfall event, which happened over 3 hours, which produced, how much is it? 11.37 centimeters of rainfall, but it produced about 5.96. So about 40 to 50%, somewhere in that range of the rainfall got converted to runoff. The rest of it all became infiltration, right? So 5.4%, 5.4 centimeters became infiltration, and 5.96 centimeters, a little bit more than 50%, I'm sorry. A little bit more than 50% has become runoff, and the rest of it has become infiltration. Okay, and then of course this final column you can populate that. Okay, in the first time step it will simply be 0.2. The next time step it will be 0.76. It's simply 0.96 minus 0.2, and so on. Okay, and then you can keep populating it. At the end of it, I think you will get, apparently you get 0.06. Okay, any questions on this? See, this is a this problem illustrates the complexity of looking at, you know, a real life situation where I have, number one, rainfall intensity. If you remember, when we derived the Green-Amt equation, we assumed that the rainfall intensity remains constant indefinitely, right? And for that situation, we estimated the infiltration. But naturally, it's impossible to have rainfall intensity remaining constant with time. So in reality, you may have rainfall that varies in time, in terms of intensity, right? So once you do know that rainfall intensity is changing as a function of time, this is how you would use it. Number one, to compute infiltration. And from that, once you have the infiltration rates and the cumulative infiltration, you can subtract the infiltration component of the rainfall. And from that, you get your excess rainfall, which in other words is your runoff. All right. So we've essentially, what we have done is we have discussed different ways of estimating runoff given your rainfall information and information about either about the fee index of the watershed, right? What was the fee index? Fee index is some kind of, you know, average way of estimating how much infiltration may have happened, right? So fee index is one way of doing it. This a little bit more cumbersome way of doing it, where you actually estimate the infiltration that has gone in at every time step, and then subtract that out from your total rainfall to get the excess rainfall or the total runoff that is being generated. Is that all right? Okay. So we are out of time. I'll just quickly so this is the plot of whatever we have done so far. This is all coming from the textbook Applied Hydrology. Okay, I've already uploaded some of this onto the website. I'll probably upload the entire solution to this problem online, so you can even work it out by yourself and then compare your answers with the solution available in the textbook to make sure that you're getting it all right. Okay, so the plot simply shows you how the infiltration rate is changing as a function of time, and at t equal to 60 minutes it's falling below the rainfall intensity, so therefore time of ponding is over here, and then it continues until t equal to 140 minutes when the rainfall intensity falls below the infiltration rate, and therefore again you start to get no ponding happening after time t equal to 140 minutes. Okay, so that's what this this figure is representing. I'll upload the solution online. Okay. So the next topic that we'll talk about is the SCS curve number method, which is another method to estimate runoff, right? So the challenge is that estimating runoff is such a complex task that there's not just one, there are multiple methods of estimating it. We have looked at the fee index as one way of doing it. Now we have looked at using the infiltration equation, which is what we did up to here, is using the infiltration equation to estimate the runoff. The next thing we'll look at is to use this SCS curve number. CN stands for curve number, the curve number method to estimate runoff. Okay. So since runoff is such a complex process which involves so many of these different variables, there are many different ways of doing it, and each method has its own advantages. We'll be discussing this curve number method in the next class. All right. Okay. So thank you very much. We'll meet again on Monday. Right. So if you have questions, email me, WhatsApp. Okay. You have all that information available with you. All right. Thank you. See you guys on Monday.